How do you discern not just your vocation, but all things in your life? We're going to talk about that today on Happy Hour. Welcome back to Happy Hour, our podcast for young adults here at the Cathedral of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus. I'm Rick.
And I'm Holly.
And today we are going for discernment. And
yes.
What does that mean?
It's a very difficult topic.
Yes, right?
How do we know?
Yeah, no, that's it. Like, what is discernment? How do we do that? What does that look like? So we're going to talk about that a bit today. We're going to unpack that. But we're coming up on Thanksgiving.
Yes, very exciting.
Yeah, that's next week as of recording. It's a week from, is it a week from today? It's a week from today?
Yeah.
I think so. It's Thursday. No,
it's
sorry.
Friday.
There we go. I have no idea what day it is, but it is coming soon. And I thought, why don't we take this moment to say three things that we're thankful for in our lives. Would that be good?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, so I'll start, and
Okay.
and then you can think of your three things, and then we can just kind of go from there. How's that?
Sounds good.
Good. So first, of course, we can go obvious things, which are great, and I do like doing obvious things. But I'm very thankful for the gift of my salvation. I think all too often it's overlooked, almost like it's just assumed, or if you're a Christian, it's just like this is what you get. But when you think back on it and you realize what all had to happen in order for that to happen, yeah, I am more than appreciative. So my salvation, and of course my family, I'm extremely thankful for. Knowing I come home every day to a support system that no matter what the day was that I had, good, bad, or anything in between, that I am supported, that I'm loved, that I have a place to go to of rest and respite. I think that's maybe also overlooked quite a bit. And finally, I am extremely grateful for my phone.
I love that one. We're just conventional,
That's right. Because right now, if you are watching us on YouTube, because this is also a recorded podcast, video recorded podcast, you're seeing on my screen, hello you, my phone, which does not just, it does that too.
Fancy.
Isn't that fancy?
Now Rick can show everyone his cool foldable phone.
That's right. So if you want to see what a foldable phone looks like, you have to check out the YouTube channel, the Cathedral's YouTube channel. So, okay, that's it for me. So my faith, my family, and my phone.
Sounds good.
The three F's, but one's not an F.
One's not an F.
What about you, Holly?
I was thinking of one that I don't, I take for granted, which is my education.
Oh.
Because I realize I complain so often about that, but it's such a gift to be, able in this country to receive that, good education.
Yeah.
And it's something that obviously it's kind of funny. I'm in college, I'm paying for it. So it's funny that why do we complain about things that we're paying for?
That's a good question.
That are going to help us in the future,
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about that when you mentioned just things that we take for granted.
Right.
So education, obviously my family, they're one of my greatest support systems. They're very encouraging, always loving, very sacrificial. So I am extremely grateful for them. And obviously my friends. So
yeah,
they're also, I was just thinking of a few of them in my head right now, and I'm extremely grateful for them. So shout out to Hannah and Nikki. They have stood by me through thick and thin, and I really deeply appreciate their love for me.
Wow. And so those are college friends?
They are. Yes, I met both of them in college.
And you're going to be embarking on your final semester.
Yes.
Is that right?
Of my bachelor's.
Of your bachelor's, yes, of course.
So I'll be graduating next semester.
Wow.
Very exciting.
Isn't that wild?
Yes.
But that probably means then also, in a sense, saying goodbye to those friends. And how do you wrap that up in a semester? Not that you'll never talk to them again, but life as you know it will fundamentally change, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
It will. We're, big girl, big boy jobs.
Yeah.
Kind of after college. So it's where do you move to? You have to go where, your vocation lies.
Oh.
So how do we discern that?
Oh, my goodness.
Tie it back into
what
the topic.
What a segue. My goodness. That's awesome. So if you're listening, really I'd encourage you to think of three things each day that you are grateful for. And they can be very small things. I'm always grateful when somebody holds the door open for me or just smiles. Sometimes it's just the very small stuff. Sometimes it's larger things, big things that happen in our lives. But I would encourage everybody, take some time out each day, maybe at the end of every day, to really think. If you do that, let's say you think of 3 things every day that you're thankful for. By the end of the month, you've got like 90 things that you've been grateful for that month. Just think about that number for a second. When was the last time you can remember 90 things you were thankful for? But if it's a bit at a time, if we're recognizing the daily, it helps us to see the larger picture and to know that God is still at work and God still cares about each and every one of us. So that's my challenge. Let's. I know it's not the new year yet, but pretty soon it will be the new year of the church year.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's right, because Advent's coming very soon. So moving from that to vocations, to not just vocations, but other areas of discernment. But when we say discernment, I think maybe a lot of people immediately go to vocations. What do you think?
I do. In my mind, at least. Yeah, I immediately think, well, as a young adult, I would say, like, okay, what am I supposed to do next? Right. Is kind of what happens. Vocations. I guess you can discern in basically any area of your life. Yeah. But that's the primary one that at least comes to my mind. Oh,
I agree 100%. I would say too that when we talk about discernment, there was an article that I shared with you, and we're gonna talk about that article. But when it talked about discernment, it really I love this. In essence, discernment is a decision-making process that honors the place of God's will in our lives.
Honors the place of God's will.
Yes, it's the decision-making process that honors the place of God's will in our life. That's different. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. So it's the recognition of God as God and saying, you know better than I do, and I would like your advice on this.
Full surrender. It's very difficult.
It is.
To trust that deeply. But someone else, man upstairs, is taking care of things that maybe you can't see here. Or the bigger picture, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, how many times have we not seen the bigger picture?
Numerous.
All the time.
Numerous times.
All the time. So in this article, it gave some very solid, simple steps of discernment. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we went over them?
Let's do it.
And just shared them with people and maybe shared what it looks like in our own lives. Yeah?
I love that.
Okay. Kick us off then, Holly.
All right. Well, our first one is just do it. Sounds like the Nike slogan, huh?
It really does, doesn't it?
Just do it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what can that mean with like taking action, maybe? I just think of it as an action statement because sometimes you don't know until you try.
Yeah.
You won't know, like if you are paralyzed in your decision making, you have to take a step forward in some direction because otherwise you won't know.
I like that. Yeah, I think that old phrase from Nike, right, is powerful because maybe we think about, maybe I should ask God about that, but we don't actually do it, right? So it's the both and. You are not just recognizing that God has a voice and knows better than you do, but you're actually going to ask him and follow through. So I love that. Just do it. This is a good way to do it. Those 3 words, jump in. Try it. See what it does for you. That is the initial step. But there are some things that I think we need along the way in order to make that happen. Because it seems easy. Well, just do it. Just listen to God. Okay, how? Like, what does that mean? Is God going to call me up on my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4? Or what does that look like? Is he going to talk through somebody else? What is it? So we have some other steps that we're going to go through. The just do it would be kind of our kickoff point, or maybe the ultimate statement, like just do it. But how do we just do it? How do we get to that point? So our next one would be we're going to go into like 8 simple pieces of advice. And the first one, which is brilliant, and we should recognize it, talk to someone you respect.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that makes a lot of sense. God uses people and the wisdom that people have to speak to us. He places people in our lives for a reason. And if we're not recognizing that, we're missing the point. And there are some people that we all have mentors or people that we greatly respect their opinions on, and to seek them out and ask, hey, what do you see in this picture of me or about me that I cannot, because I'm looking through a different lens. I'm not being able to step out. I need your help. I need your advice. What do you see? Do you do that at all with areas of your life, Holly? Do are there people you go to that you respect and say, hey, okay, I might need some advice here?
Absolutely. I thought of a missionary that was my mentor a few years ago. Her name was Becca. So shout out to Becca too. She had the gift of wisdom, like with with God, spirituality, that type of wisdom. I feel like there's earthly wisdom that people can go to as well. Like some people have more of like a history repeats itself type of wisdom. Right. Which is something that's a tangible wisdom that you can acquire.
Yes.
Like on earth, not through God. And then there's also like more of a spiritual wisdom that you can attain from the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important to have people in your life that might reflect both of those types of wisdoms. Because have both, like, my mom is really good about like history, and she knows kind of like the trends and like how people behave or have been, and she can kind of predict like politics or what might happen next. She's very good about that. So I love to go to her for like that type of wisdom. And then Becca, I went to her for more of a faith formation type of wisdom, like nice. With discernment and like trying to figure out things to do, because she is older and wiser than I am.
Yeah.
So it's always great to go to, I think, both types of people. I don't know, have you ever experienced that with like different types of wisdom? I've been thinking about that recently.
Yeah, no, that's really good, because you do need, it's almost like experts in the areas. And why wouldn't you go to that? So earlier, we do the recording for this podcast, and now it's video recording, and I couldn't quite figure it out. I couldn't, there was something that was really bothering me, and I was like, I know it's here somewhere. I know I just have to do something, but what is that thing? And so I definitely had to seek out some good advice from someone who knows way more about it than me. So I asked YouTube.
YouTube is the source of earthly wisdom. It knows how to do things.
Exactly. Let me tell you, it definitely knew more than I did in that area. But of course, we can't just go to YouTube with or Google or whatever, just this online AI that has no face. I think real wisdom comes from people, and of course, people upload to YouTube, so it is people. But there's something different about having a conversation with someone. The tangible, sitting in front of them, eye to eye, it's way more impactful and so much longer lasting if we have that experience of being in person with someone. It's different even when you call somebody up, hey, I need your advice on this, and that's great. But when you sit down with them, eye to eye, and go through it, to me, it's more impactful. Right.
The value of that human connection is so, because on the phone, you don't know if they're really paying attention or if they're cooking or trying to get their laundry done. You never know. Absolutely. But if you're sitting down, you're like, I'm being intentional with you, and I want to share what I have and listen to what you have to say. Absolutely.
I agree. So I guess our advice would probably be lean into the people who are wise in your life, people who have proven that they have great wisdom and make sound choices. So have them just take a look at whatever scenario, whatever you're discerning, if it's your vocation, if it's what kind of car you should buy, if it's whatever it is. Look for an expert in that area that's in your life, somebody you trust, and just talk to them about it. You don't have to go through this alone. And here's what I find. People love to be asked about their expert opinions.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Absolutely. Because it makes them feel special, important.
Yes, and it's recognizing their gift, exactly. So it's a both and. You're doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it for them. So don't shy away from it. Find someone to talk to. All right. What's our second one, Holly?
Our second one is find some solitude. Solitude. I kind of think of silence as well with that. And I think retreats are super important for people. I've been thinking about that myself. I need to go on a retreat. I'm like, I need some silence from this busy world. I think it's super important. I mean, like, priests take retreats. They do it too. Imagine how much they're doing in their lives. And I'm sure all of our listeners have busy schedules and lives as well. So I would highly encourage solitude, or find some maybe part of your day. Sometimes a car ride. I don't listen to music anymore in my car because I need to have that like solitude time. Wow. And it's like very peaceful. Yeah. Or maybe my thoughts are just running so loudly in my head. Yeah. I don't know. So sometimes good to like process as well. Well, that's good. See, for me, the drive time, music helps me to calm down. Yeah. I'm not the most patient driver. Okay. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm not the most patient. When people cut me off, it pushes a button in me that I try to
do my best, try to be as Christian as possible, but sometimes it helps when I have a Christian song playing and somebody cuts me off.
Too.
I guess it could, yeah, that's true.
You could be by yourself.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point.
Knowing your autonomy.
Yeah.
Self-autonomy.
That's right.
With the music.
You know? But
vibing by yourself.
Yeah, and yes, I need my own vibe that's just me. But also, because I'm around people all the time, even when I'm not at work, there's 10 people in our house.
Yes.
Think about that for a second.
How do you find
right?
Exactly.
So you live in a sorority.
Yes.
So how many people are in your house?
It's a lot.
It's
like
a lot.
40.
It's more than 10. So you get it. Like it's always somebody somewhere doing something.
Correct.
There's always noise. There's always happenings, right? So you have to be super intentional about, I'm going to go out for a walk. Or I'm going to run to the store. Just me. Or if I'm at work. I'm very fortunate because I'm 50 yards away from the Adoration Chapel, not even 40 yards, I think, away from the Adoration Chapel. I can just go there anytime. It's awesome. And so to find solitude, time to just you, to not be distracted by other things, so you can hone in on that thought. Hone in on what you're actually focusing in. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll ask a question, but I've still got 50 other things that I'm dealing with at the same time. So I'm not able to give it that full attention that it needs. Mm. So solitude is acknowledging that, no, I need to devote time to this. And so that's what we do. So that's tip number 2. I like that one too. That's really good. How about tip number 3, which is start with what you know. This makes a lot of sense. It seems
obvious.
It does, but we skip this one.
We do.
And I say that because I skip it. But start with what you know. So just kind of put all the facts out in front of you, right? Look at them. Like, you're smart. The Lord has given you wisdom of your own. Look at the stuff. Lay it down. If you have to make a pros and cons list of things, I'm a huge fan of that. Really, truly. When a lot of high schoolers who are maybe seniors or whatever, what should I go to college for or anything like that? My advice is always to, okay, why don't you make a couple lists? I make a list of what your gifts are, what your gifts and talents are, and then another list of what you're passionate about. Mm-hmm. And then, just make those 2 lists. Take a day for each list.
I'm going to have to do that.
Write that down. Yes,
I
do
like
it.
That. I need
it's
to
really good.
Readjust.
Well, it's really good because then when those 2 separate lists are done, you then place those lists next to each other and see where do they intersect. What am I good? Like, what are my gifts and talents? What am I good at? But also, what am I passionate about? And is there anything on those 2 that look like they match up? And that's a really good way to start to at least go through that process of, oh no, that makes sense. I really enjoy people. I'm a customer service kind of person. I love that. I really get fed off of that. So that'd be, and I'm good at it. I can, I'm a good fixer of problems, or I'm a good listener, or whatever that is. See where that intersects, and that gives you a general idea of where you should go.
Right.
So that's knowledge that's like right in front of you, given to you. We overlook that a lot.
Right. In that section, I just think of immediately objective truths. Like, what are the
Nice.
very clear things that can't be debated
Yes.
in your life that are happening with whatever you're discerning? That helps me a lot. It's like, okay, don't think about my feelings or thoughts. Take those out for a second.
Yes.
Obviously, those are very important. Your passions, your interests, maybe if that is what you're discerning. But also take maybe like a section of that column per se. Mm. What are like the objective truths about a situation that you can see? Like time, let's say time, money, just very factual things can help you and kind of logic your way through it as well.
Absolutely. Oh, I like that a lot. No, that's really good. All right, let's go to the next tip. What is it?
Tell God what it is that you desire and what you fear.
Wow. Isn't that good?
Like a two-parter. Two-part question. Two-part statement.
Yeah.
What you desire and what you fear.
Allowing for both of those. Sometimes I don't know. When I ask for God's opinion, it's almost like I don't want to tell him what I want in the situation or out of it. It's almost like, well, that's just secondary. If something good that I want comes out of it, great, but it's not a priority. But it actually is a priority to tell God your desires and what you would like out of the scenario.
God doesn't want you to be sad.
No.
He doesn't. He wants you to be joyful. So if it's not bringing you, if it's not bringing you a lot of joy, then God wants the best for you. So it might not align exactly.
Yeah, you might not get what you want, and that's okay too, right? Okay. Like that's fine. But it does not hurt to tell him what you want. And here's the tricky part, or what the funny part, I think. We're not honest with those conversations sometimes with him, and yet he already knows.
He knows what I want.
What are we hiding? What am I trying to hide from him? I don't know. That's kind of silly. But what about the fear thing too? Why don't you speak into that a little bit, Holly, about telling God what it is you fear about whatever you're discerning?
Right. I think overcoming that fear is a huge obstacle in discernment. There's a lot of, what happens is that if you have so many of those fears clouding your mind, you can't actually really discern. So you have to ask specific questions to yourself. That's what I've had to do in the past. Like, okay, what am I scared of the result of this situation? Or if I discern one choice over the other.
Right. What
am I really scared about, and does it matter that much?
Oh.
Like, it kind of comes down and boils down to your trust in God with that, and like how much you actually can surrender. There have been times I'm like, oh my gosh, I fear so many things, and I'm like, does that mean I'm actually trusting God? Because if you have all of that built up, you're not really trusting God.
Right.
That's kind of just like the truth of that situation. So I've had to reevaluate for like myself. Like, okay, do I actually trust that he's going to take care of me? Do I actually trust that this is like his will almost too? Because sometimes I'm more focused on like my own will, which can really cloud and also cause some fear or anxiety. But sometimes you have to remove those things and kind of analyze it to get down to the point.
That's great. I mean, that's super solid advice. As I was thinking about you took it in a direction that I wasn't even thinking about, which I love. That's so good. I'm going to be contemplating. Of all these, I'll probably think about that one the most.
Yeah, what was your direction?
Well, it was really just because I wasn't leaning into if I'm fearful, am I really trusting? It was just like, no, I want to list what I'm afraid of the situation, like failure, of course, letting people down, right? These are the kind of fears that I would have with it. Just if I make this decision, here's what I'm afraid will go wrong. Boom. And just kind of lay it out and be honest with them. But I really like the idea of if you are feeling that fear the entire time and you're leaning into that fear, you're not leaning into the Lord. So to be honest with them and give it to him and then just say, having said all of that, God, all of those fears, I trust you. And I know you give me the strength. Right. That's so good. That's so good. I'm going to be thinking about that one.
Extreme anxiety.
Yes.
There might be an issue too. So there's like a two-sider with that. So there might be something, you could have some maybe anxiety of your own with different, some people have more anxiety than others. So that can be another part of it as well, mental health and all that. So for sure. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give us our next one.
Alrighty.
This kind of seems like an obvious one, but I'm going to say it anyway. Let God speak to you. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So I don't know how God has spoken to you in the past. I don't generally ever hear a voice. That's not how God has spoken to me, but he has spoken to me in a lot of different ways. Through people, of course, through scripture, for sure. Saints' lives, absolutely. Sometimes it's a billboard. Like, I remember praying about stuff, and all of a sudden there was a billboard that literally gave me the answer that I'd never seen before in my life. It was so obvious.
He said, Rick, look.
He's like, Rick, I know you're not going to get it unless I do this. So boom, here you go. Boom. And I need a lot of billboards, trust me on that. But it also, what I like in this article talks about how there are memories that God might be stirring within you to help you make your decision. Because it's not just that God is talking to you in that one moment, but he's been talking to you all of your life leading up to that moment and then beyond. So let's look back a little bit on how God has moved within your life before that. And if you start stirring up those memories, pay attention to that. Like, oh my goodness, yeah, no, you're right. I've been in this scenario before, and this is how it worked. So when the article said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is brilliant. I love it. So I don't know how God speaks to you, but again, for me, it hasn't typically been a voice, like a booming voice.
I think the most times I've, like, in essence, heard God's voice have been the times that I've, going back to that solitude point. Mm-hmm. It's in the silence that God speaks. Because I heard a good quote recently. I'm not going to quote it exactly, but it's when you're in silence that your mind, body, and soul is attuned to the will of God.
Oh, I like that.
Because if not, you're listening to your own will if you're in that busyness and chaos. So if you take some time in silence, some things will be brought to mind because you're processing, I think, and God will bring certain things that are maybe bothering you. or just like in the forefront of your mind, and that's what you need to take care of first. Because if you try like in silence, if that thought keeps coming back, maybe God wants you to think about that a little bit more. I've realized that too. Some people are like, okay, push all the thoughts away, like you need silence in your brain. I'm like, how is that possible? I don't know. Someone needs to tell me how you do that, because my brain just keeps having things come in like periodically.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
But sometimes there are things you need to address with that too. So that's what I was kind of thinking with that.
I think that's an excellent point. That's really good.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Let's go.
What you got?
It says, know that God has a plan for you. He's watching out for you guys.
He is. Oh, there's great comfort in that, isn't there? Mm-hmm. That because we're not at the point, we're going through it, so we're not at that point of the end result yet.
Right.
We're still in it, but to know that God is already there at the end of this, has seen it, knows how it unfolds.
Isn't there that one Bible verse that's like, even we who are wicked know how to give good gifts? So trust that God has that plan for you, and he wants to give you those good gifts as well. Like if we can give good gifts to our children, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, then he can give even better gifts to you, and he has that planned out for you.
Absolutely. It's tremendous to think about, because and the great comfort that gives, because you can be caught up in the situation, caught up in the decision-making process, and just keep wondering, well, here's the good news. God is at the end of that process. And he's all the way through it. Lean into him and just remember, there is an answer. You will receive it if you're seeking it. And God's the one that's going to give it to you. To me, great comfort. Okay, we're running out of time, so we're going to nail these last 3 or 4 or 5. 3, I don't know how many it is. 4. Okay, here we go. Next one is pray to do God's will. And we get that in the Our Father. That's really one of the big things that we're praying for, is that thy will be done, right? That's a huge thought change, because I don't know about you, but I pray that my will be done a lot.
Yes. I want to go my way. I want to control the situation. We have to release that control, which is very difficult, at least for me, because I like to control situations, know what's happening, plan things out. I have 5 planners like for different things, my phone, my calendar, my plan, so sometimes you just have to be like, God's timing, God's plan and schedule, not mine.
Exactly. I need to work on that a lot. Almost like a daily reminder for me. Nope. Thy, not my, will be done.
Thy, not my.
Thy, not mine. That could be a t-shirt. Thy, not mine.
Thy, not
Ooh, think about a hat. Oh, I'm okay. That'll be our official sponsor. I don't know. Thy, not my. All right, 3 more.
All right, the next one is wait.
Oh.
Wait. Sometimes you have to live in that present moment.
I don't know if I'm good at that.
We're always trying to think of what's ahead in the future. We can't just stop and just enjoy the moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes back to the gratitude, having those 3 things that you're thankful for. Think of today, what you're thankful for. Things that have happened in your day, events, people that have come into your life. What has happened today?
Yeah, I'm terrible at waiting.
Me too.
I want it all right now. If it's in the car, if it's at the store, if it's downloading something, I want it all right now. There's great joy in waiting, though, too, I think. We always just want the end results, but the joy is in the journey.
Right.
It's not.
It produces perseverance, too.
Yes.
That patience,
good point.
That virtue.
Excellent point.
It definitely strengthens your will. Even that's not what we're focusing on.
Of course, but your resolve and
your resolve.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Better terminology.
Yeah, no, I agree, 100%. All right, 2 more. My last one, and then your last one. My last one is prayerfully commit. Right, so at some point you actually need to get into the pool, and not just be like, I think I'm going to swim today. That pool looks good.
Yes.
All right, I got to jump in. At some point, I got to do it. But once you've sought out the Lord's will, commit. Like, prayerfully commit. Lord, I'm doing this. I'm all in. Here I go.
Absolutely.
Done.
And definitely check out, I recently watched an Ascension Presents video with Father Mike Schmitz.
Okay, I've heard of him.
And it's about an 8-minute video on commitment. Oh. We've lost that as a society in the past few years. So definitely check that out. It was definitely a call to action for myself, in my commitments. I think that's very important too. I know that's a little offshoot from this, but
That's okay.
definitely check out that video. Just wanted to provide that resource too.
Yeah. I think he has a podcast as well. I don't think it's as popular as our podcast. Yeah, right. Okay, last one. What you got?
The last one is check out the fruits. Got some bananas, got some
Yeah.
grapes. No, I was kidding.
I love fruit. Fruit is great. What's your favorite fruit?
Nectarines. How about yours?
Fruit of the Spirit.
I'm just kidding. That was the right answer.
No,
Absolutely.
that was terrible. That was a bad setup. I'm sorry. That was awful. My favorite fruit is probably watermelon.
The literal fruits.
That's right. So what are we talking about here, Holly, when we say check out the fruits? What's happening?
Check out the fruits. There are 9 fruits of the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say all of them right.
Of course.
Like love,
That's
joy,
okay.
peace, patience, kindness, self-control.
Goodness.
Goodness. You probably know the order better.
That's okay.
Goodness,
You're doing great.
self-control. Oh, that's all I remember.
It's okay. It's all good. But and we could be talking about those fruits too,
Yeah.
right? Like all those things. Are those coming from your decision making?
Yeah, what are those?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
coming out of what you are going to be discerning.
Yes, but and then also the fruits of like, is it providing something new? Not nutritious. I don't know. Is it providing something that's flourishing, or is this just causing a lot of trouble, a lot of mayhem, a lot of consternation, a lot of fear, a lot of struggle between you and other people? Sometimes if you just take a step back, it's really easy. I made this decision and everything is going wrong. I wonder if I made the right decision. Probably not. FYI.
Upheaval. That's probably maybe not the right. Try the other choice you were thinking about.
Exactly. Now, if everything is going well and things seem to be moving real like in a good direction, like it's beneficial, good fruits are coming of it. Hey, all right. I think I made the right decision. This is great. So it's kind of obvious. It's an obvious step to me, but it's one that we, I think, maybe push to the back burner and we almost try to manipulate the data in that way based on the decision that we actually want to make, not the decision that God wants to make.
That's really important. Actually, yeah, that is definitely highlight that because in your life, because sometimes you want to make things fit to your will, thinking it's God's will.
Yep.
I've realized that myself too. I'm like, am I actually like what I'm reading, am I just trying to make it fit to what I'm trying to do? Instead of actually listening to what it says, like with scripture. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to try to fit this to what my plan is. Yeah. Not what God's plan is.
Exactly.
But with the fruits and everything, like what's the substance of what you're doing? Like, is it a good thing? Hopefully it is. Is it a good door? Is it an open door? Is it a wise door to go through? And do you want to go through that door? And will those produce a good fruit and substance in your life and other people's lives?
Exactly. I think that's from Father Mike Schmitz, right? Like
yes.
that's how you know.
Remembered that. Yeah.
Which is great, and I couldn't agree more. I think sometimes we'll make a decision and bad things are happening. Like all those things aren't not lining up, and yet we'll still be like, no, that's probably because of this or whatever. I'll just keep moving on, and we forget to take a time out again. Maybe relax a bit, go get some solitude, and reevaluate what's happening because of your decision. And then I think you can, because you can undo a bad decision a lot of times. You can.
Or make amends.
Exactly. Yeah. So undoing a bad situation can look like making amends, can look like turning and just making a different decision. There's a lot of ways to do it. Now, some decisions are final, but there are a lot of ways to turn away from a bad decision as well. And that's the beauty of our faith. Like confirmation, confession is a great way of that as well. Like we're recognizing something's wrong and we're turning away from that. Like we're going to make amends for that, and that's going to change. So, having said all that, that's a lot of tips that we gave people. Let's go through them real quick. Then we'll do the first one last. Okay. So talk to someone you respect. Find some solitude. Start with what you know. Tell God what is it that you desire and what you fear. Let God speak to you. Know that God has a plan for you. Pray to do God's will. Wait. You see what I did there? Yeah. Prayerfully commit. And check out the fruits. Of course, the final one is just do it. Just do it. So I know this one hopefully has inspired you to look at the decision-making areas of your life. We didn't go into too much detail about what decisions you can discern, but I think the answer is all of them.
Everything.
You
every
could.
day, every second, you have many choices. So.
Did you choose to wear those socks?
Yeah, they're matching today.
Okay, good.
I didn't remember.
You didn't actually go to God for that decision, but a lot of decisions you and should go to God. So hopefully this helps you. Pick one or two things to really focus in on, but really those steps are there for our benefit. So if you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share it with them. It's really easy. There's a button that you've got on your app right now that you can actually just push. Share it and send it to somebody who might need to hear how to discern in their life. That's all of our time, Holly. That's it. That's all we've got.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I hope all our listeners, like you said, benefited from this and found some ways to, remediate some decision making or just go about it in the future.
Love it. All right. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you. And we look forward to being with you next time on Happy Hour.